Patriot Voices on cue for yet another Friday. Today being the 8th day of September 2023, and it is exactly 6 p.m. in the studios of Q95 Radio. So we're actually bang on time. All right, folks, this evening we're going to keep it very simple. Of course, like I said, we are keeping the electoral reform discussions alive and well on the front burner of our program, and we'll have discussions on other matters. So basically, that will be our topic for tonight: electoral reform. We'll also have a spiritual message by Mrs. Jimena Vidal Valentine, which I have not listened to myself, but I'm confident that it will be a good message for your listening pleasure. All right, we were supposed to have should I say supposed to, but Mr. Ronald Lander was contacted to be first this evening, but unfortunately he can't make it, and it was actually to discuss the budget 2023-2024 budget. So we may just probably have a short discussion on it as well, and of course we will open the lines so we could talk about any other thing that you wish to talk about, perhaps the new nominee for presidency, or any other burning issues that we may want to talk about. Feel free to do so. All right, folks. So you know my name, John Blanchard, and I'm the host for tonight's program. I'm expecting Washburn Coffee, President of CCM, to join me shortly, so we can have a good time together until the 8 o'clock hour. All right, but before we do anything, we always welcome the presence of God in our midst. So let me do that, and then we shall go to the greetings list and then the roll call. All right, so please take a listen at this time.
Down on my knees, I found my Jesus. Down on my knees, I found my Lord. It wasn't on the mountain, not in the valley, but it was on my knees. I found my Lord. Once I was blind, I could not see the glory of Jesus, so rich and free. I've heard about him, the man of Galilee. I cried out, Lord, oh, help me, please. Down
on my knees,
I found my Jesus. Down on my knees,
I found my Lord. It wasn't on the mountain, not in the valley,
but it was
on my knees. I found my Lord.
He took my hands.
Question is, have you found the Lord?
I held up high,
Hmm.
and he saw the tears
So my tears
that I have cried. Oh, he came down
and held me tight,
and he said,
my child, you are mine.
I went down.
All right, folks, while you listen to the music, let me just
On my knees.
call out my usual greetings list. I know most of you are out there waiting to hear your name called, and so I take much pleasure as well in doing that. Of course, first and foremost on the list is my little princess, Kimaya, and her mom, Ketika, Auntie May at Salisbury, Delbert Blanchard and his wife in St. Martin. We have Auntie Martha and Bibia, Kalunda, these people from Parish Spitz. We also have Jennifer Christopher, River Street, Brother Angelo Allen, Urban Long and family, Mr. Foy and family, Francilia Isaac of Bellevue Roll, that's one of our little grannies that we always say hi and hello to. I hope you're doing well, Miss Francilia Isaac. I've not seen you in a very long time, so I hope all is well with you. Ras Joseph, Jan, Wowon, of course, Mr. Corporate Vidal, the big farmer down there in Salisbury. That's our brother Bob Marley, good partner. We have Mrs. Ernestine Pelty up in the USA. You and your daughters, good evening to you. Wowon, Mr. Christian, Ras Brigo, and Port Michel, Edith Francois, the Tegas man, that's Jimbo, our brother Dorian, Mr. Whitney Louis, you and your wife, good evening to you guys. Between Blanchard, aka Kawi, Cyrus Raphael, better known as Sindo from Point Michel, who lives in the States, of course. We also have Miss Jennifer Xavier, you and your husband. Let me say good afternoon, good evening to you and your family of the Point Michel. Brother James and Daru from Good Hope. Mr. Lionel Lafille, Sandra Smith and the daughter Cressida Raymond. And we have Akela, Dana, Jessica, Nolan Michelle, Kalunda, Manu, all these guys from Tyree Spit. Judith Dover from Water Village. Susanna Roll, Maureen, Mr. Louis of Loftus, Duran, Earl, Bruno, and all these other members of CCM. Good evening to you guys. A few of the good doctors, like I said, I'm only calling a few. We have many more good doctors in Dominica. But I just chose to highlight a few of them, like Clinton Shillingford, Thompson Fountain, Jill Dangleben, Sam Christian, Irvin Pascal, Hazel Ricketts, Irvin Andre, we have Dr. Thomas, in the Wesley area, Dr. Hendricks Paul, of course, my good old friend Jed Woodman, Edith Abraham in the USA, Val Ferry at Point Michel, Mindy on High Street, Timeless Queen, our flower girl in the Rosa area, Vivi. Good evening to you, Vivi. I saw her earlier on today. I was looking always neatly dressed as customary. Sally from Warner, Jermaine from Tyree Spitz, our brother Maurice from Citrone, Sandra Sylvester, better known as Bisan, Robinson Charles of Campbell, better known as Small or Tidley, Angel and Abigail, and Marigot, Ivan Nicholas of Scott said, Dion Philbert, Brian Linton, all these are my former colleagues at schoolmates, sorry, at SMA. We have Tony Caesar and family in Totola, our dear brother and CCM member David C. Joseph. I hope you are doing well. You and your family. My partner, Ronald Marie, that's the Vikas man. Good evening to you, my friend. The Moon Sevi guys, Bourgeois orders. Fafa, Marlonita. Oh, I know Marlonita is locked in. I actually saw a while ago and she's locked in, lying on the sofa, well relaxed, I must say, and waiting for the. Marlonita, sorry for selling you out. Waiting for the big program to commence. You know, at one point, she felt I was going to be late because when I passed at her home, it was already after 5. And she said, "Oh, you're late, you're late." I said, "Oh, really, I'll be on time. It's just to rush home, take a shower, and back down." So, Malonits, enjoy the show. Agatha Samuel, better known as Carrot. We have the Bruno family of Point Michel, John Frompton, of Power, Janice, Bruno, also Shirley Allen, Pape Pali, Blue, Lucille, the family members of Mr. Ralph McGraw. Good evening to you guys up there in Loda, Nerika T, Jessica, my good old friend, Mr. Norman Chillingford, the African brother, Mrs. Dorian Francis, our little granny and auntie and friend and all in one, Auntie Betsy up there in Bath Estate. I know for sure Auntie Betsy is locked in. I could bet $1 million. Auntie Betsy radios on Q95 now and locked into the show. All right, you also have Fano, I've been in Sibuli area, Lister George, Zed Lloyd, Blessings, Michael Coppel, Mr. and Mrs. Ozzy Luis in Emerald. Of course, Mrs. Luis, I hope you are doing okay. I spoke to you just last week and the voice sounds very strong. So that's very encouraging and good news. So I haven't spoken to you, on the telephone, and I just want to continue to hope and pray that your health will improve and that we will be much stronger. Tyrone Theophile, our great cricketer from La Pointe. Also, we have one they call Anthony Scotland, but I doubt he can hear me at this time. We have greetings to all the nurses, doctors, the lawyers, the post officers, the fire officers, Mrs. Desiree John. Good evening to you, ma'am. Our dear loving nurse, Miss Norma Rample, special greetings to you this evening, to both you and your husband. I know you all are listening. Do enjoy the program. Norma in New Jersey, we have Rachel, better known as Richie, from Good Hope. That's a long-time friend of mine. I know Richie probably well over 30 years. Very nice lady. And blue to the bone. Keith Matthew, Yolanda Roy and her mom Patricia, Adelit Paul, Olivia Philogen from Collio, and of course all the other true patriots, both home and abroad. Let me just say good evening to you guys and do enjoy the rest of the show. But before I do anything else, we heard of the recent passing of a young man, teacher at Convent High School. Kevin, I believe his name is Kevin Angol. Young guy, understood as about 29 or so, it's young, very young chap. So we want to express our condolences to to his family members, his friends, staff and students of the Convent High School. Ask you all to hold on strong, for strength that will go through these difficult times. The passing of your teacher is not easy. You know, to have seen the teacher a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, and I'm hoping to see him the beginning of the new school year. And here it is. There's no sir in the classroom, and it can be very depressing, you know? Even for those of us who are the parents of these students. Much more for the students themselves to have that everyday interaction with that young man, you know. Also, we want to express our condolences to the family members of Mr. François Barry. Of course, we all knew Mr. François Barry, the former power rep for the Salibia constituency, cricket historian and educator. So Barry was well known, very popular guy. You know, usually called sports rap, and I will miss Barry's voice on sports rap for sure. Because whenever he called, he always have a lot of information, history, so to speak, about the cricket game and so on. And it's my understanding that he had probably 2 exercise books, taking his notes and so on. So good guy. He served well as well during the UWP time, 1995 to 2000. I believe he also won a by-election in 1993. So he served about 7 years in Parliament. You know? So farewell to you, my brother. I suppose we all have that appointment. According to the scripture, Hebrews 9:27, says, appointed unto man once to die, but after this a judgment. So it's a matter of his appointment can be for mine or be for yours, but we all have that appointment with the good Lord. You know, so we just want to ask the family members to stay strong as they go through this grieving period of having lost their husband, their father, their grandfather, uncle. You know? It's difficult to really digest and to deal with, but that is the hard facts of life that we all have to go through at some point in time in our lives. All right, folks, it's now 6:14, and we're going to go through the greetings line at this time. I know you guys are out there. I just want to call in and just say hi, hello. I'm there calling from Kinfield, wherever I'm at. Just know where you're calling from. We'll be happy to hear your voice. So wherever you're calling from, be it in Marigot, St. Joe, Salisbury, Point Michelle, you know, just give us a shout and let us know that you are listening. All right. So please do so at this time. Thank you. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yes, brother John.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good.
Tonight you're open batsman, huh?
Yes, I'm open batsman.
That's good. That's good.
All right.
All right. Take care. Take care.
You too.
All right.
You are forever in my life. You see me through.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yes, gentlemen, good night.
Yes, sir.
I am calling from the Good area,
Good
and I'm
delivery, of
listening
course.
peacefully.
All
But there's
right.
something happening in Good right now. Chinese destroying the school was built by the Canadian government.
Chinese
It's a
doing what?
shame. Huh?
Chinese doing what?
The school at Google, Chinese destroyed right now to build a Chinese school. To
Right
build
on.
take out a concrete, not concrete, now, stone school to build a Chinese stupid school. It's a shame.
Oh my God. Hmm. This is, this is not good to you at all. Wow. Thank you for the information.
Wait on you.
Good evening, caller. You are right on cue.
Good evening, Brother Blanchard.
Hey, my partner. What's your voice in a while, man? How you doing, sir?
And it's been a long
Yeah, yeah,
time,
yeah.
man. I know that. And I just tuned in now, because that's some issue I had to deal with. I wasn't listening to you for, a few weeks,
Oh, I see.
but this week I back on the ball. But Brother Blanchard, before I say greetings to you and all CCM, let me ask you something about you talk about Barry, right?
Yes.
And you said that we all have an appointment. That appointment we can. And I wonder, have anybody successfully postponed that appointment?
Well, they can't.
It looks like that's one appointment you cannot postpone, Brother
Oh
Blanchard.
no, oh no. You can't postpone, you can
Yeah,
cancel.
but Barry, as I said before, I said last night, I never really know him, but listen to him on Q1, so the Q family. Something I admire about him, Brother Blanchard, he always used to look out for his people.
Oh yes.
And I find that is one of the mark of a good Christian. You have to, it's like you have to live for others instead of living for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where they talk about, the Bible talk about love one another as I love you, or
Yeah.
whatever you do to the least of my brothers
Do unto
that you
me.
do unto me.
Yep.
It's all about serving people. It's like we're there, but we're not really there for ourselves. We're really there for other people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And by all reports, I see he did a wonderful job in that regards. And, that's one of the things I'll always remember about him, hearing him on, and every time he always used to talk about it. The Canlago people,
Oh yeah.
they're passing them, nothing happened. He always advocating for his people.
Yeah, that is true.
So I just like to say again, condolences. But Brother Blanchard, you alone there, man.
For now,
But
most likely Osborne will join. Most likely.
okay, what about Brother Zah? Anywhere
Brother
is the
Zah is
Brother
on
Zah?
island,
Greetings.
but he said he couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah,
He's
and
back on island.
my friend Mr. Cuthbert Vidal source with the farmers boy. I wonder what the farmers going through. The kind of report I get in right now, Brother Blanchard from Dominica is like everybody have the cry. Everybody, farmers, teachers, even NEP, nurses, doctors, hospital students. We're just not in a good position. The country just not heading in the right direction. But anyway, I on the freeway and I listening. I might call back according to the topic you have.
All right, bro. Well, tonight
Yeah,
we'll be
and,
more or less on electoral reform, and we might touch a little on the budget. If worse becomes it, we can coordinate something on the budget as well.
yeah, the budget. I
Yeah,
always
if
thinking.
it comes,
I will wait when that argument comes because I have something to say on the budget, the
No.
process and the budget itself.
No,
Anyway,
no problem.
greetings to all Dominical patriots of CCM, Auntie Betsy, and as I said, my friend Mr. Cuthbert Vidal, my little partner Carlos, and all the farmers in Salt. We just hold tight, stay strong.
Yeah, man.
Where there is a will, there is a way.
That's
and
correct.
old ladies say, hey, last Papa Monday, many workers be way. Brother John, I listen to you. Thank you.
All right, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
First time I still long right on you like that. hold it on.
Yes.
Good evening. I see you alone, Ranger today.
Yeah, for now, yeah.
That's suffering from jet lag after Labor Day.
No, Well, he came on the same day, you know. He came on Monday. So I do think he was up there for the day.
All right.
Yeah.
It has a lady that she lives upstairs. I think upstairs the what you call that, the credit union at Point Michelle.
Uh huh.
She's
That's it.
still living there.
Yes, I was giving her a shout out. Man, on it, Noddy.
She had a slight stroke, right? She
Yes,
got a,
but she's doing much better now.
yeah.
Strong.
My
Yeah.
mind came on her there today because I remember the last time I went there with a friend, two friends to visit her upstairs. That I was in what?
September
In 2023, I
23.
think.
Uh huh.
I think year before last I went there to visit her. I say good night to her. She listening.
Always, she's always listening. Always, always.
Oh boy, my mind just
Yeah.
came on her there
I
tonight.
just
And
passed her
let me,
lying down on the sofa quite comfortably and listening to
what's her name, man, nowadays?
Lonita Noddy.
All
But
right.
she's very strong, moving around, doing her own stuff. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Auntie Bessie
Oh,
and
that's what that one there. Auntie Betty is a hero,
Auntie
man.
Robalanda and all who listen to my voice
Mhm.
tonight. Have a blessed night and let's keep listening. But something I would really like to happen after that electoral reform. How we stand? What are we going to do? We are
That's
nothing.
exactly what I'm talking
We
about
like
tonight.
stagnant water.
That's exactly what I'm talking about tonight.
Jesus Christ, it's
Yep.
time for us to evaporate, man.
Mm-hmm.
Bye bye.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Hey, Mr. Blanchard, how you doing?
How are you, sir? I'm fine, and you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm blessed. I
Yeah.
can't say better than the rest, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed. God give me guidance and thanks to be alive today.
That's right.
So I'm doing good.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I just called to answer my brother Mali. But before I answer my brother Mali, I would like to say something about the brother from the Kalinago territory. I keep hearing people say, the gentleman passed. But I never realized it was that guy because I heard him. I hear him all the time calling Ozzy show, the sports rock. And I've always liked to hear this guy and his history. The guy was a history buff.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the kind of people that Dominica losing and they don't get a chance to record their stories and record the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge that people like that possess. Just like Ozzy.
Yeah.
Ozzy is a walking encyclopedia. But, the kind of people that we are is the same reason that we are in the condition that we are in, that Mali just said that he's hearing all what's taking place and people calling, like the brother who just called it, tell the Chinese tearing down the Goodwill School.
Mm-hmm.
You see, all these things, it's our fault. It's our own fault why all these things take place because we refuse to stand. You see, if I'm waiting on you to stand or if I'm waiting for you to speak for me, I will never hear what my problem is until it's too late. By the time it comes to my turn to speak, because I refuse to speak, everything would have been done. And I'm going to say this. It looks like most Dominicans, by the time it's over, going to be speaking Chinese and better than they could speak patois. But I'm going to let that one go because I know you have other people calling. But let me tell my brother Mali, they postponed that already, man. Some of them people who get transplant and them kind of things, heart transplant and liver and this, whatever transplant it is. It give them a little more time. So, yes, there are some people who have done it, my brother. I'm listening, John. Thank you very much.
All right, man. You take care. All right. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue. Good evening, caller. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Good evening. I'm listening. I'm calling from Gambia.
All right. Thank you very much. Good to know that you're locked in. All right.
Oh, but I don't worry about that much.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yes, Mr. Blanchard. I was talking about the school at Goodwill. Do you know the Goodwill school?
Yes, very well.
Huh?
Yes, of course.
That's right. Right now, China is breaking it down. To
Mm.
build is a school of build stones, not blocks. It is trying it to build a fully school. The school is a strong school. What it needs is a few galvanized. It distrain it, to build Chinese school. I want to know he belong to China. That's all about it.
All right. So, thank you. I believe Chinese run things.
Ain't got a lot of riches. Sometimes the going is rough. Going gets rough. But I've got a friend in Jesus. And that makes me rich enough. I thank God for all this.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
At last, I just put back my phone on because I see I don't know, I'm not getting no place. So I just say, let me do call anyway.
Okay.
I'm listening. I saw a nice send up for that young man from down the road. I don't know if he's Tavish Peter or whatever. Up for cool.
Which one? The one who lost in the accident?
Yes, accident with the man's son, whatever.
Okay. I know.
He get soon, he get all kind of things.
Oh wow, that's nice. Okay then. Well, thanks for that information. All right, folks. I really give an extended period tonight of the roll call, but let me recognize the presence of our president in the house, Mr. Washburn Coffee. So before I go to the spiritual message, which I was just about to go to, let me give him the opportunity to say hi and hello to a few of his friends out there in Ridgeland.
Yes, thank you, Brother Blanchard, and good night to all our listeners out there. It's a good opportunity having you tonight on your favorite radio program on a Friday night. I've just joined in. I would not like to keep back the program, but just to shout out all my friends and patrons, fans in River Cyric, Coolibistry, Point Michelle, Pottersville, Lower Goodwill, all where you may be tonight. You know, we want to touch you in a very special way. In Bath State, you know yourself there. In Jeffers, Murphy's Lane, we really want to call names. We have been long on that part of the program. But I think I just want to take the opportunity. Brother Blanchard has already expressed his condolences to the Barry family. Let me take the opportunity on this program to express my own sympathies via our Patriot Voices on Q. Brother Barry called us a couple months ago. He has been a regular caller to our program, and I think I recall when he called, he was particularly highlighting the deficiencies in the Carib territory with regards to the medical services up there. So it's really sad, you know, to see as his health has failed, and we lost him, a sad loss for the people of the Carib territory and Dominique on a whole. My association with Mr. Barry goes back a long, long time ago in the early 80s.
Greetings.
When I was a cooperative field officer, and he worked at that time. He was involved in the former St. Francis Credit Union. But he was also a key point man for development in that area. So at that time, several cooperative activities in the Carib territory, the Gullet River Farmers Cooperative, and we had the Sally Bear, the boxing plant cooperative, banana cooperative, Sineku, and so on. So it was a time of a lot of cooperative activity in the Carib territory, and Mr. Barry was a very instrumental man, a very important point man when it came to organization on the ground and mobilizing people in cooperative endeavors. So he's going to be sadly missed, notwithstanding, of course, he made a very valuable contribution in the politics of Dominica, having been the PAL rep and the parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Sports. So I want to say to his wife and his family and all his friends up there, Kitchener Laville, the Sanford family, and of course the Barry family, we want to touch you in a very special way. And the people on the in the Carib territory on the whole, we want to touch you in a very special way tonight on this program as we reminisce the life of Faswa Barry. And so say that we also lost another very important credit unionist, Mr. Valentine Telemac, who is from the village of Wesley. I also had a very close association with him, having worked with him in his capacity as treasurer of the Marigot Cooperative Credit Union. I recall particularly his role in the amalgamation of the Laswa Credit Union and the Marigot Cooperative Credit Union. He was a very dedicated and committed credit unionist. He was also involved in the teaching profession. He served, as I understand, as the vice principal of the North District Comprehensive School. Very, very humble man, very dedicated to the cause, very developmental in his attitude. And I am sure he's going to be missed by his community, by his school, and by all those he have been able to touch their lives in one way or the other throughout his life. So I would like to take the opportunity to also say condolences to the family of Mr. Telemac, Valentine Telemac, former vice principal of the Northeast Comprehensive School.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Was that a young person, was me? This guy from...
Yeah,
young guy?
he was a fairly young guy.
Okay, he was of deaf.
Yeah, I think you would know him yourself, having been involved in the... He served as well at the capacity of the Dominican Cooperative Societies League board some time ago.
That was probably after my time.
Yeah.
All right. I sound like a...
Very dedicated guy, I must say.
I sound like a big old man. I sound before my time, man. Okay, folks, it's now 6:43.
Yeah, it's just that we are losing a lot of good people.
Yeah.
We are losing a lot of good people. And
are you saying that the bad ones are still around?
Well, no, in the brain drain that we have in Dominica, you're using... I mean, as you said, I heard you saying, well, all of us have that appointment.
That's what the Bible says, eh?
But
the appointment we have once to die.
Indeed, we are losing a lot of our human resource, and I think the opportunity to replace them is maybe not as quick as we would like to see. So it's always a sad loss when we use people of that kind.
And that's why the government need to groom the young people, help build them, rather than giving them a set of CO and have them smoking marijuana is nonsense. Build them up, educate them, let them replace the old guys that are going out. Let the young people take over. All right, folks, that's another topic. It's now 6:44, and we are going to go to the spiritual message at this time by our dear sister. This is Jimena Vidal Valentine. So please take a listen at this time.
Since Amisha Day, people of...
No, sorry, I have to go back to the top for 1 second. Okay? Right.
People of God, there remains a... Greetings, Amisha Day, people of God. There remains a remnant. Grace and peace to all the patriotic diasporans who have emigrated in search of greener pastures, unlike Daniel and his 3 Hebrew friends who were taken from their educated Jewish families to Babylon as captives. Jeremiah was a prophet for 23 years when he prophesied about the Judeans' 70-year captivity. Is it a twist of fate that for the past 23 years, Dominicans have been emigrating at astronomical rates? Was the Lord just as angry with us as he was with the Jews? Jeremiah 25 from verse 3 reports, the Lord has sent his servants, the prophets, to you over and over again, but you have not listened. Those prophets said, change your lives and stop doing evil. If you change, you can stay in this land that the Lord gave you and your ancestors to live in forever. Don't follow, serve, or worship other gods, idols that someone has made. That only makes me angry with you. By doing this, you only hurt yourselves, close quotes. You will observe from the subsequent verses that because they did not heed the warning, they became slaves to the foreign king of Babylon for 70 years, as predicted. But because God is bound by his promise to preserve and restore his covenant people, he leaves a remnant. During this leadership crisis period, the likes of which we have never seen, be encouraged, for God understands and knows how your heart aches to learn that the Dominic Kidu you once knew is being snatched away from you. As an expat myself, I empathize. This pain is seemingly unbearable, particularly if you were forced to emigrate so far away from home because of political pressure. Though living in a strange land, these heavy hearts find comfort lamentably in the folklore expressions of Creole songs by Ophelia Olivache Marie as Ay Dominique, ou ka plewe, zye ou ka koule, che ou ka washe. Still, these faithful patriotic diasporans remain resolute to the cause through their frequent interventions and ardent support, for which we are grateful. This state of capriciousness in the air is unsettling to their livelihoods, but evidently the blood of Ned Mawon is aroused by echoes of revolution time. By their refusal to bow, these diasporan remnants are likened to the three Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace and Daniel in the lion's den. This level of loyalty is commendable and imparts hope for impending triumph. Be encouraged, patriots, both on land and abroad. For in Daniel chapter 10, Daniel was terrified by a vision concerning times of war and great hardship, which was certain to happen in Israel's future. He mourned and interceded for 3 weeks for restoration. This resulted with an angelic encounter where Daniel was left all alone to watch this vision. The men who were with him, though they didn't see the angel, were so terrified they ran away to hide. The angel said to him, O Daniel, greatly loved of God, listen carefully to what I have to say to you. Don't be afraid. Since the first day you begin to pray for understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your request was made or has been heard in heaven. I have come in answer to your prayer. For 21 days, the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia blocked my way. Then Michael, one of the archangels, came to help me, and I left him there with the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia. Don't be afraid, for you are deeply loved by God. Be at peace, take heart, and be strong. Close quotes. On hearing these words, Daniel suddenly felt stronger, and the one who looked like a man said, soon I must return to fight against the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia, and then against the spirit prince of the kingdom of Greece. There is no one to help me against these spirit princes except Michael, your spirit prince. I have been standing beside Michael as his support and defense since the first year of the reign of Darius the Mede. Close quotes. Patriots, we are at war, for we are warring against not flesh and blood. Rest assured, God's army is at work. Only with clean hands and pure hearts can we hasten national deliverance. Let's work together with him, both to do his will and his good pleasure. And it is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. Beloved, one of the things that provokes the Lord to anger is the high places that are built on street corners. If most of our paid politicians are embroiled or dabble in the occult, How then can a nation such as ours be considered godly, particularly with Dominica being betrothed to Red China and is being prostituted by heathen nations? Confederacy between godly and agnostic nations is oxymoronish. Then again, that's Babylon for you. For Isaiah 8, verses 19 to 22. When they say to you, consult the mediums and the spirits who whisper and mutter, should not a people consult their God? Should they consult the dead on behalf of the living? There is no future for you if you follow such things. And when the captives turn their faces to the ground, there is only a depressing darkness closing in. The dark sadness of people forced to leave their country. Close quotes. Admittedly, darkness is evident in DA, and emigration experience has resulted in a national brain drain paralysis. Yet it can be turned around to our advantage. Behind every dark cloud is a silver lining. For upon receiving news about the sorry plight of Jerusalem, Nehemiah, a man of prayer, interceded earnestly for God to intervene. He was just one man, but in spite of hostile opposition inside and outside, he rallied his countrymen to rebuild or restore the wall of Jerusalem, which were in shambles, and he succeeded. Sons and daughters of Dominica, who would love to return, should not have to be haunted by thoughts of victimization. Like Nehemiah, you can return and build. Faithful diasporans, the remnants on land are encouraged by your contributions, both demonstratively and otherwise, during this crisis period. It makes a great difference. Don't give up on DA. DA will never give up on you. Thanks again for listening. Peace.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Hermina Vidal Valentine, for your words of inspiration. And like I said, I do not expect anything less. You are always, on top, always on top of it in terms of the message and the way that you deliver it. And so we want to thank you immensely for doing that. I know it must have taken quite a bit of effort to get these things together, put your wording together, put your thoughts together. And of course, you have to have a mind that is free. If you have any things in the mind at the time, it's very difficult for you to really put such a message together. So thanks again for taking time out to do so every week. We are very appreciative of that. Just to give a few brief comments on the message. I love the idea that you quoted Ophile's song, I Dominic, and I think this song is very timely for what's happening right now in the country. The country is crying, the country is bleeding, it's asking for help, and I think it's a very timely song, timely message from the song. Also mentioned that we are at war and not against flesh or blood, and that is very true. And the mere fact that we have evidence, evident that our politicians are actually dabbling in obi and evil and all sorts of evil works. That is not a good thing for the country. There is really a darkness over Dominica. And you're not the first person I had said it. I mean, some time ago, we had something about Point Michelle, and I heard a pastor said it very well. Several pastors I've heard said that there is a dark cloud over the country, and as to how this dark cloud is going to be removed, I would want to think that it would take a lot of prayers, it would take a lot of faithful people that are genuine, born again believers with faith to pray and to get this dark cloud out of our way. But the way I'm seeing things right now in Dominica, you have so many of the so-called preachers that are actually in bed with the evil ones, and that is creating even a bigger challenge for us to come together as spiritual persons and to pray hard to relieve Dominica from what we're going through right now. Because it cannot be. I don't think it is just a matter of securitize money and he's buying people and keep them quiet and giving them positions, promotions, and houses, and I think it's more than that. Because I mean, the level of things that happen in Dominica right now in terms of corruption, to have billions of dollars outside our treasury, and nobody seems to be put up about it. I mean, except for just a few of us, and we must highlight Mr. Linton. He has been on the ball for years now, talking about the wrongdoings of this government, this administration. But so many things are happening in terms of corruption, immorality, in your face. And the churches are quiet. Generally speaking, the people are quiet. Of course, like I said, with the exception of the patriots that come out on the radio and so on and talk about it. So, I mean, what is really going on? I mean, is there really that evil force that people just cannot see what is going on? But I really hope and pray that that spell will be broken very soon. Very, 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 very soon. Sooner rather than later. So with just few words, I'll just end my comments and ask Brother Washby if he has anything to say on your message.
Well, first of all, I think it would be in order to thank Miss Villan Valentine for yet another brilliant contribution to our program through her regular program. We refer to it as Spiritual Voices on Cue. Spiritual message, yeah. Spiritual message. Yes, I see she in a message she gave a lot of attention to the role of the diaspora. I suppose given our recent electoral reform discussions and consultations, I think the whole role of the diaspora, I think, was mirrored in several ways as to the whole election reform process. So I suppose in that vein, she felt that I suppose is a bit of damage control there as well, because while some of the comments may in one way seem to be negative, but everything is towards the positive, and she's asking the diasporans to remain resolute to the cause and to continue to work in building our homeland. She, of course, referred in biblical terms to Diane in the lion's den and asking us not to be afraid because we, the patriots, are at war and we need to continue to fight in as she said, to do God's will as God's army, and we have to be constantly at work. I think importantly, she mentioned about Dominicans and Dominica being given up to other nations. And I think we have to guard against that. There are a lot of inferences, there are a lot of examples we could cite as to a concentration of things being done by non-Dominicans and projects being given to non-Dominicans. And it questions our whole independence for us, because we're an independent country and we have to be on the lookout for any tendency that may seem to undermine our independence. We do not want to go down a road of recolonization. So we as a people, we need to take note and we need to continue the fight to ensure that Dominica is not in one way or the other given to other nations or being ruled by other nations. As I said, there are tendencies towards that, and we need to stop it and to reverse that tendency. So a very good message. And she's asking the diaspora in the end to don't give up on DA, because DA will never give up on the diaspora. So that is my brief comments here on the spiritual message this evening.
All right, thank you, brother. Good message. Like I said, a very good message. I know people out there are really appreciating the message. So we don't get too many calls on the spiritual message, but people meet me all the time and comment on it. As a matter of fact, there are a few persons I usually forward it to. They ask me to forward to them so they can listen again. So it is the message is actually reaching places. Well, actually, the word of God said so, that his message will not go void. So anytime the word is preached, it doesn't matter if it's one seed that message sow, it will accomplish its purpose. It shall not return unto him void. And that's the word of God. All right, it's now 6:51, and folks, we have to continue with the program. But before we do that, let me just play a little song for Mrs. Emina Vidal Valentine at this time. Why didn't you want to play? Come on, let's go. Oh, 1 second here. Oh, that's it. All right, I'll get back to it. I was trying to get a song for Mrs. Valentine at this time, but seems not to be queuing up. All right, cool. We're now. That's not the one I actually wanted, but anyhow, I'll play for a while. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yeah, brother Blanchard, me again.
Hey, Bob Marley, you're back.
Yeah, I know you said much people don't call on the spiritual message, but she said something about it, although about the diaspora, which I never, and I will never consider myself as that. I don't know what the word means. Diaspora. Instead of die, why we can't live? Instead of die poorer, why we can't live richer? So I'm not a member of it, that, but the point she was making is that there will always be a remnant, some that will stand firm, and she's asking us to be brave and not to give up, because sometimes you really get that feeling, like you said, but the people you're fighting for them and they don't want to fight for themselves, let's just leave them in the Koshoni. And then something in your heart telling you, no, that is your people, that is your land, that is yours, that is you. You cannot give up and you cannot get frustrated, you cannot get weary. So I appreciate that aspect. But the main thing I pick up in a message tonight, she said we are at war. And we all know we are at war. Financially, even physically, because our health is under attack now. You know what I mean? Spiritually, politically. So I say, okay, if we are at war, brother Blanchard, why we always have to be on the defense? Our plan is time we come up with a strategy to go on the offensive to attack and attack fiercely.
That's correct.
Yeah, but because we just defending. What happened in Ukraine? Russia attacking Ukraine all the time, Ukraine defending, but right now Ukraine on a massive offensive move.
That's right.
So what I'm saying is it's time for us to go on the offensive, because we know God with us. We know our cause are right. We know we're fighting for truth and justice, for equality. We're not fighting for the political party or no politician. We're fighting for Dominica to preserve our way of life, the democratic system. We're fighting for the next generation. So, we cannot just be accepting that defeatist mood. But just, okay, them fellas always getting away. It's time to launch a massive counter-attack on these people, man. Come out in the thousands. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Shut down the country. Do something because they're not budging. These guys are going to give up all that money like that. You know, Brother Blanchard had already said that.
Oh, no.
They are not going to give up all that money that at stake. That is the bottom line, you know. All that electoral reform and all them different things that happening. You have a foreigner controlling the resources of the country. That is a form of colonization again. We lose our independence. We have got nothing to lose than to stand up and fight.
That's correct.
I'm listening. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Take care. All right.
Yeah.
All right. This is the one for Mrs. Vidal Valentine.
Mes amis, ça café d'omni, ça café d'omni, mi mauvaise aïe d'omni. Oh ya, amitié, oh belle manière, oh unité. Mes amis, ça café d'omni, ça café d'omni, mi confusion. Mes amis, ça café d'omni, ça café.
Hello?
Good evening.
Yeah.
All right.
You all said you were going to do something a while back, like going around and educating the people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that should be done because a lot of the young people say young people listen to you. A lot of you, I can tell you, a lot of young people listening to you. Because when I speak, somebody else have to tell, is your son so? Even coming out from grammar school.
Right.
I was speaking to somebody and the young boy turned around and, is you that is? I tell him, yeah. He said, I always hear in your voice because my mother always has her radio on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of young people, young fellas selling by the street will meet me and they will speak to me. I pass in some young people inside of stores. So I always trying to speak to them and educate them as to what is going on in our country. Because a lot of them maybe doesn't know exactly what's going on. We have to make them know we have a man outside here holding the bulk of our money in his hands. And it's not our own. Like, is he that have it? If to that tomorrow something happened to that man, how starboy or stupidity going to get that money?
Mm-hmm.
We want to know. We need our money. It's our passport money.
Yep.
And that man have it using to his
It
own.
should be in the treasury.
Yes, it's only a treasure. It is always and fancy. You see buildings going up. I see a thing going up by the Astaf and they call it the REM.
Mm-hmm.
All that is our passport money. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't noticed that. There's something going up on the right side, right hand side.
On your right.
Yes.
That place I think
Yes.
I see Gara where they were stuck
Right,
with that
right,
lady
yeah.
the other day. That lady had that first little store there, short little red-skinned lady from Portsmouth. That building there, them passport wheelers and dealers buy, but one man may be fronting for who he fronting. We don't know.
Good question.
Because that man just building, that young Rasta just building left, right, and center. Who is he fronting for? Our passport money, and we have to talk to the young people and make them people know that when I pass in there, I said, yes, sorry, that's all that is our passport money. They'll stand up and they'll watch me like I care about them. I mean, we have to really pound that in them people's heads. Really make them know what's going on. I see so many bikers today riding in Roseau. I said, well, I don't know why they didn't start at more in Roseau this afternoon there. Bye-bye.
Mes amis,
Good evening, call. You're right on cue.
Yes, John, good evening to you, John. Good evening to your
Good
co-host.
evening. Good evening to you.
Good
And good
evening.
evening to all the hardworking men and women of Dominica. Again, I really want to thank you all for coming out there to keep hope alive and to keep those that are losing, that have really lost hope in Dominica, to let them know that it's all is not lost. I mean, it's a matter of we're fighting against. It's good on over evil, and at the end of the day, I personally believe that we will overcome. God gonna see us through. But Blanchard, I've been following what's going on in Dominica, and I heard that the police officers in Dominica, commanders of Dominica Police Force, they're out there trying to make a lot of money by ticketing people, especially those that might have not maybe insurance license not in order. While I fully understand that, and they're asking you to pay up or go to jail. I mean, John, I asked Matt that question, but I'm going to say it again tonight. Why Roosevelt Scary have all our money out there owing Dominica? I mean, who's going to arrest? I mean, somebody needs to arrest Roosevelt Scary. I don't mind calm. If we could get at least 5 or 6 people to just go and arrest Roosevelt Scary, arrest Lincoln Cobbett. Something have to give, because this man have our money that should be in the consolidated fund. Roosevelt Scary have it out there. He and this what's this guy name? What's his name? This
Um,
I
Anthony Hayden.
whatever his
Yeah,
name
yeah.
is, Anthony Hader,
Yeah.
wherever he's from. That's who have our money, and I'm really hoping that we can get some brave men to arrest Roosevelt Scary. This enough is enough. I mean, you can't tell me our people, our hardworking men and women of Dominica that have paid taxes in Dominica, have to go through all that. Anytime you go to a hospital, you're not sure to come back lacking basic supplies. I mean, and Roosevelt Skerrit and Anthony Hayden have all our money where we could be able to supply our hospital with all the basic supplies that is lacking. I mean, something have to give, my brother. Good night.
Yep. Good night. Rashby, any comments?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of things I would like to maybe just touch upon briefly, and having heard some of the callers, maybe to address some of their concerns. Firstly, on the electoral reform agenda, I think a caller asked, where are we on that? Obviously, we will be eagerly looking to see what is coming from the consultation process and what are going to be the final recommendations that are going to be upheld by the Electoral Commission and possibly to be proposed to Parliament. So we will be eagerly awaiting the product coming out of that process. But in the meantime, there is work to be done. And moving forward, I can tell you that while I have not been part of the meetings, but there have been at least 2 recent meetings I have been aware of. Well, a few that I was involved in, but the last 2 I couldn't be part of it. But the Electoral Reform Commission affiliates, and I think through the efforts of the Dominica Business Forum, there has been some consultations taking place to crystallize our recommendations moving forward. But while we're in that process, we ourselves are doing our own homework in terms of trying to articulate precisely where the discussion should be. A lot of has come out of the consultation in terms of what we believe were the negative side of things. So in the process, we have to seek to correct some of the misinformation that went out there as part of the electoral consultation. I think one concern of one of the callers was the whole question of the youth concern, and I suppose the mobilization aspect. It is well considered that by the Electoral Reform Coalition members that a serious mobilization effort has to take place, whether individually or through the initiative of individual member organizations and involving all the affiliates or coordinated schedules where the citizenry can be informed of important aspects of the process. We need to move away from the government narrative as to their main aspects of their propaganda machine. We need to move away from that. And in moving away from that, we have agreed that we're going to put some serious efforts in several areas. I think the three main areas identified have been looking at the education process, and I will go into some details of what that may involve. And as well, we need to look at the information side of things. Yes, we have to educate, but we also have to inform. And in the final analysis, there must be adequate mobilization on the ground so that the people can be involved and can actively participate in the process. So some of the areas being suggested that we need to look at in terms of our education process is to educate the populace on the issues of governance and government. People need to know what is governance and what is the relation between governance and government. And we're not just talking about governance, but good and effective governance, looking at the principles of governance in terms of accountability, transparency, information, adequate information, and things like that, proper management and that kind of thing. And looking at the role of government, examining the role of parliament, and of course, what we mean when we talk about Dominica as a parliamentary democracy. What do we really mean by that? Because you see, people need to have the know-how, have the information, so that in itself will educate them and mobilize them towards better participation in the whole electoral process. We need to start discussing with people, why do we have elections and why we vote? And what is the role and responsibilities of the citizens in the election process? We need to be able to discuss those things at length so that people can understand their roles and responsibilities as citizens in the electoral process. Looking at areas like how does election contribute to good government and the country's development and legislation on a whole. And looking at topics in terms of the role of the citizens and their involvement and participation in the electoral, parliamentary, and legislative process. We believe that these are fundamental areas for education that the public need to be armed about and to inform about. Because as we have said, part of the problem, especially when we talk sometimes of the youth involvement, is the whole consciousness, of the young people, the whole political consciousness of the citizenry on a whole. And we believe that consciousness, you build consciousness through relevant education. So there has to be a focus on education, because we believe that when we look back at the consultative process, we recognize that people spoke out of their emotions, out of arrogance, out of lack of information, and so forth. So therefore, we see the need for an education process that can build capacity of the citizenry in terms of our governance, our government, our parliament, and our democracy. Of information, there are critical areas there in terms of information on the election laws, the existing and current laws, especially as it pertains to the electoral process. People need to be informed of what are contained in the existing legislation, and people need to read and be aware to familiarize themselves with important elements of the Constitution and important elements of the election laws and the House of Assembly laws and so forth. The whole question of looking at how the current law undermines free and fair elections, because in examining that, we will clearly examine the gaps that exist. And as we look at proposed laws and looking at how they guarantee and undermine free and fair elections, these are areas that we need to examine critically. How will future elections strengthen or undermine our democracy? People need to be informed of those elements there. What are the differences in what is being proposed by government and what are being proposed by civil society organizations, the churches, the opposition political parties, etc.? And what are the consequences and effect of diaspora voting? We have been discussing diaspora voting, but again, not always based on the facts. So we need to look at the consequences and effect of diaspora voting. I paid some attention to that when we as the CCM made our contribution at the electoral reform consultation. The whole question of the importance of voter ID cards and the use and functions of these cards. Again, people need to be educated along those lines. There have been a lot of misinformation as regards to the whole matter of ID cards. The question of voter fraud and its reoccurrence. I mean, a lot of the whole proposal and objective of electoral reform is for free and fair elections. So to what extent that voter fraud, I mean, we, as I said, we play too much. We are too naive in our belief as to the occurrences or situations that may lead to voter fraud. we need to be aware of them and to make sure that there are necessary checks and balances that can seek to minimize any occurrences of voter fraud. And the whole question of campaign finance in terms of how monies can influence the election and dictate the government. There are a lot of things that can be learned here. So these are some of our talking points that we are hoping by the time we get into the actual mobilization in terms of scheduling of meetings, and the general public should rest assured that they will be invited to forums, community forums, town hall forums, where matters pertaining to some of what I have mentioned will be examined and discussed with the citizenry. All that is in terms of the process. We don't want government to take control and have their narrative in terms of the process, and we ourselves are not sure where we are going. So that is a framework that gives us something to work on with the general public. So persons who are concerned as to where we are on the electoral reform agenda, this is some of the new developments, and I'm hoping that some of the scheduling can be in place as we move forward. So just quickly, as the watchdog organization on behalf of the citizenry, we have had the recent development in terms of the presidency. We understand that some nomination has been made with respect, and that is public knowledge now as to government nominee. And our concern, we as a watchdog, we believe in rights and process, and as it relates to I don't want to go on the precise aspect of the Constitution, but I think it is clear what the Constitution says with regards to who can be elected as president. And over the years, we have seen some departure from away from the Constitution.
Yeah, what we just stick a pin there, we'll get to that discussion, because while on reform, let's make some comments on reform, and then we'll get back to that discussion.
Okay, fine.
Then it's good right through. Yeah.
Fine, okay.
All right, thank you. All right, folks. 7:80 now. Quickly, that time goes, and we want to give the public a little time to also call in and to weigh in on the different topics, so we don't want to just take up the whole program, just two of us just talking. We want to get get the public to interact a bit. All right, but you made some very salient points. I suppose that is coming from the ARC, right? All right, good. So yeah, so this that persons are in action. They're discussing what came from the consultation and the plans as well. So that is very good. All right, but we have heard the consultation, or some people call it confrontation, confusion, and whatever you want to call it. But the fact is, it is over. The big question is, what next? We heard all the ramblings, we heard everything that was said, and we're asking the question now, what next? Whose position is the government taking to Parliament? Like you alluded to earlier on, which position is taking to Parliament? Is it the most good Parliament to amend the existing laws? So we're asking the question, whose position is the government taking to Parliament with the legislations to amend the existing laws? Is it what they want or what we want? Are we going to see a complete re-registration of legitimate electors? Are we going to get our voters' ID cards? Are we going to see laws to effect campaign finance reforms? Are we going to get equal access to state-owned radio station at a minimum? Are we going to implement the current law with the 5 years out of state restriction for Dominicans living abroad? Are we going to have a seat in parliament for the diasporans so that they can express their interest? Their interest can be represented in Dominica. So what exactly are we going to parliament to debate? And what laws are we going to pass? I also want to ask a question. What role is the Electoral Commission playing in all of that discussion that has taken place and is still ongoing? Is the Electoral Commission going to break their silence and perform their duty in accordance with the Constitution of Dominica, in which they are mandated to do so? Are they going to break the silence and do what they're supposed to do according to the laws of Dominica? And the big question that arises, what are we prepared to do if the government decides not to take the appropriate bill to Parliament to effect proper electoral reform? What are we patriots, we Dominicans, prepared to do? To my mind, that is what the opposition forces, the political parties, civic-minded people, groups to include CCM, Munsawi, NJAM, and others, the trade unions, etc., should be discussing at this time. Our next plan of action, that is what should be on the table at this point for discussion. We cannot and should not sit and accept nothing less than what we are asking for. And you all know what we're asking for: our ID cards, re-registration, campaign finance reform, access to state media, and all of that. We are not going to accept anything less. We have to ensure that CBI citizens, or to make it simpler, people who purchased our passports, are not qualified to vote in our elections, just like how our sister island, St. Kitts, has it. In St. Kitts, CBI citizens cannot vote. In Dominica, I am hearing that nonsense talk that since they meet the residency requirement, that is 3 months living in the constituency, they can vote. I mean, can you imagine that? Pure madness. I repeat, this is just pure madness. Ça c'est bagay moun fou. Pure madness. Patriots, citizens of Dominica, giving you all a stern warning tonight. If we allow that to happen, if we allow Skerrit and his rubber stampers, or rather his stooges, if we allow them to have the CBI citizens vote in our elections, they will remain in power until Jesus returns. You know that? They will never leave office. So just imagine we have over 46,000 CBI citizens over the last 7 years. Over the last 7 years. So it means that we may well have over 60,000 CBI citizens. If we, I mean, they don't have to get like 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 to come and get the vote. 1,000 CBI citizens is enough. Just 1,000. All they have to do is place them in about 5 constituencies that has a marginal, where the victory is always marginal. So you look at places like Grand Fort and La Plaine, Cassie Bruce, Wesley, and so on. You know the usual seats. Marginal victory. Where the party might win by the 10 votes, 5 votes, everybody might edge out, but no, very marginal. So just all you have to do is put 200, you get 1,000 CBI citizens to come down 3 months, 4 months before the general election because Kerrit has the date in his back pocket. And they're fighting a tooth and nail not to have a fixed date for election. So he having the election date in his back pocket. He brings in 1,000 CBI citizens. He throw 2 of them in Wesley, 200 in Castle Bruce, 200 in Grand Fond, 200 in Lapland. That's it. He can secure 5 seats with just 1,000 CBI citizens. Labour Party already have about 7 trust seats. We all know that. Some people argue the fact that no, but it's a fact. The Labour Party has about 7 trust seats, 7 strongholds. And I can name them for you. I mean, Labour Party, as we speak today, things can change tomorrow, but as we speak now, if there's an election in Granby, Labour Party has that seat. They have the Soufriere seat, that is 2. They have Collier, they have Portsmouth, they have Cottage, Vickers, Caldibishi. 7 seats. So if you pump the citizens, the CBI citizens in just 5 marginal seats, you've got 12 seats, and they can keep getting that over and over and over again. So we cannot allow them. We cannot allow CBI citizens, persons who purchased our passports, to vote in our elections. It's a no, it just should not happen. If we have to shut down the country, if we have to protest, we have to do what we have to do in order to stop that madness from happening. Otherwise, we will never select a government of our choice. The foreigners will be doing it on our behalf. That's a very serious matter. We cannot and we should not allow that to happen. We have to fight. We have to fight with every ounce of energy in us to stop it. We have to. We have no choice. We have no choice because our children will suffer, our grandchildren will suffer, our parents will suffer, we will suffer, everybody will suffer. Foreigners will run this country. We cannot allow CBI citizens to vote. Already we have a challenge with diasporans that are out there for 15, 20 years coming back to vote and go back same day. To add insult to injury and to have CBI people voting in the election. No finny bad. So we have to stop it. We must stop it. So folks, let us keep our eyes open and do our homework to find out when the plan, I'm talking about Skerrit and them, when they plan to go to Parliament and what's on the other paper for discussion. This is very serious. And it can either positively or negatively affect our livelihood, our way of living, and most importantly, our democratic rights and privileges. This electoral reform business is serious in the partner. I think we will take it lightly and go to town hall meetings and they're arguing and talking the foolish. That thing is very serious. Let us stand together as a united force to defeat the monster. We have to stand as a united force. That UWP thing and CCM and Jam and Freedom Party and so on, we have to get rid of that. We have to come together as one. We have to be united. It is very serious. So let us monitor that thing closely. Let us look, wait, and see what they are going to take to Parliament. Because we heard the utterances at the consultations. They would swear they were reading from a script. Everybody was given a script to say the very same thing. National ID cards, no voters card. Remove that 5-year restriction from the diasporans coming down to vote. Things like the diasporans can come down to vote even if they're out for 5, 20, 40 years. And they don't want re-registration, they want confirmation. No, so basically they're all saying the same thing. Things that will ensure that the Labour Party or Skerrit's winning legacy continues. That is what they want. But we have to stand up. We, the Dominicans, living in Dominica, when the hardship hits us, we are the ones to feel it. How can we allow persons living out of Dominica for how many years, right, to come down there, vote a government on our backs? If the government is oppressive, the government is a dictatorship, if they impose high taxes on us, we are the ones to face it, not all you out there. Thank you for the burials. Thank you for the remittances that you send to your family. But that cannot give you the right to decide who governs the country. That cannot decide how I live my life in Dominica. That cannot be above the well-being of Dominicans. So Dominicans, we have to stand up and we have to ensure that that does not happen. Okay, I know the time is around the corner in terms of going to Parliament. They must be thinking of what to put there because trust me, they have to be careful, because you know people out there outrageous, and I'm telling you, my brother, there is going to be a fight. There is going to be a fight. It is not going down that easily because these guys want to remain in power forever. And we now want to get them out because they have done enough nonsense in the country. The country is at rock bottom, low exports, agricultural industry down, increasing poverty, increasing in unemployment. Look where of Antigua being the second highest economy in the region after Guyana. They've maintained that position. They've maintained that position. We just heard of a 14% salary increase for Antigua civil servants in Antigua, about to get a 14% increase, while they're offering the public workers 0.000 or 0.1 or some foolishness like that. So it means that the economy of Antigua is doing much better than us. For the government to offer the workers 14%, the economy is booming. It's doing much better than Dominica. But you sit here in Dominica and you hear some of the fools out there about it. Labor ka travail. Labor ka travail pour koyo, to enrich themselves. Not to take you out from poverty, but to enrich themselves, to build their mansions. That's what they're doing, and keep you in poverty. Brother, I suspect you want to say something. Go ahead.
Well, I think we're getting some calls.
There's some calls coming in? Okay, so let us take a few calls while we... Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Hello, good evening.
To you, sir.
I got up for 20, at least 15, 20 years, Skerrit in power. Skerrit is not going to go down by the book. Skerrit is not going to let us do pen and paper work and it's going to work out. If we think we're going to get Dominica back, we have to think again. We need to take our time and take our country. We have to sacrifice, we have to stand up, we have to do whatever we do. Because the pen and the paper and the thing about all this, we're going to teach people about election, this and election, that we tired of that every day. We don't need to know how we're doing and what we have to do to get to election or voters or cleaning lists. We tired of that. What we have to plan and deal with now is to stand up and take our country back. Some of us are willing to do whatever it takes to get Dominica back. So let us stop talking and stand up and do the action that we need to do. Let us take our country. Because if all you're expecting, can go in and go inside there tomorrow and write a paper and say, okay, you finish with that, you give up, or you're lying because Skerrit have too much to lose. Yep. So let's stop the talking and deal with our country the way we need to deal with our country. The plan we have for taking Dominica back with law and order and them thing there, law and order will come back in power after. Until then, we don't have no law and order. He said no constituent knows nothing to stopping him. Well, I want to know why it's stopping us from doing what we have to do to get rid of them. We need to take them out of power. Whatever it takes, whatever necessary, like they just say for the United Workers' Party, whatever necessary to get rid of man, we have to get them man out. Dominica is in the drain already. They're going down in the drain. Yes. It's in the drain already. We need it.
Yep.
We just have to save it. Yep. So let's stop talking about going and teach children people for election and voting and all them kind of thing on their rights. They know that already. What we have to do is plan when we're going to take out Dominica, where it is there. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Thank you very much. It's a combination of talk and action. Too much talk and no action doesn't make sense. Action with no talk also doesn't make sense because you need to plan what you're going to do. So it has to be a combination. All right, calls, that was 744. The numbers to call are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, and the overseas number 305-432-9624. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Hello, good night.
To you, sir.
Yeah, good night.
Yeah, and good night to all Dominicans. I hope you had a blessed day. Tonight, I want to call all the Caribbean leaders, Mr. Skerrit friend, carry come and carry go. I want to tell you to tell Mr. Skerrit, your friend, your best friend. I know you guys love him. Give the people of Dominica electoral reform, as there will be war in Dominica. There will be bloodshed. He said already, the blood of the nation will be on our hands. My brother, I'm ready for the war. Ready for the blood that you speak about. Caribbean leaders, Mia Motley, Ralph Gonzalez, Philip J. Pierre. Please, I know you always in CARICOM meeting. Tell these guys to please give us reform in Dominica, as there will be war in Dominica. Thank you very much.
All right, my bro. I understand your passion and regarding the bloodshed and so on. I'm not ruling out what you're saying that could happen, but let's hope and pray that it doesn't get to that. Let's hope and pray that no blood has to be shed in the streets, all right? But it can be ruled out either. Good evening, caller. You're right in queue.
Mr. Blanchard.
Yes, sir.
Are you willing to hear a different point of view?
My co-host is nodding his head in agreement, so yes, we'll go. That's Mr. Meadows.
Okay. I think I heard you speaking about a strategy for electoral reform, and you're basing it on the different groups, the NGOs that came together, as opposed to what, the government may have in mind. Now, when you get down to it, how are we going to determine who are the people that are in the majority that the government should listen to? And because what I'm hearing from you is that you may have a point of view and you want to insist on it. And if the government doesn't agree with what you want, you're going to take to the streets. Are you going to take to the streets on behalf of it may be a very few people compared to what the majority may want? Are you going to impose our will on the majority of the people? How do we determine who is in the majority?
A good question. But what if I reverse the question on you? The government goes to parliament and they decide to have reform in one way, and we have other persons, like 16,000 or so other persons, 10,000 persons, not in agreement, and you have some other persons in agreement. What are they going to the parliament? So we can go either way. So what are they going to take to parliament? Is it their point of view, or their supporters' point of view, or the other side point of view? So there must be a balance, and that is why we had the consultation going all around the place. But you will agree that was not a consultation. You actually had a set of confrontation, people arguing, and there was a cross-examination, even at the consultation with what's the name, the lawyer, the AG and Francine. There was actually cross-examination at a consultation, which wasn't making any sense. So people were not even free to express themselves as they want, because there was actually a cross-examination. So that wasn't the. So how are you going to arrive? How are you going to arrive as to the numbers who want to, let's say, for example, let's take one, ID cards. Some persons talking about national ID cards, some talking about voter ID card. How are you going to arrive at that consensus?
Yeah, but my question to him is, why the government? It shouldn't be the government. The Electoral Commission is the one charged with the responsibility for the election process. He shouldn't be talking about the government. He should talk about the Labour Party, which is just a stakeholder in the process, just like the United Workers' Party and other bodies and organizations. So why the government?
I think we lost him.
I listen to you day after day. I listen to every word that you have to
And that's a good point. The Electoral Commission to take that final decision. So they listen to the government side, they listen to the opposition side, and they decide what should go to parliament.
have come and gone. Too many still singing this same song.
Will you call you right on cue?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Blanchard.
Yes, sir.
And good evening, Mr. Coffee. Mr. Coffee and Mr. Blanchard, I'm going to tell you all tonight. In all the consultation they had all over the country. I never went to the consultation for many reasons. But where I'll be going is when they'll be taking the electoral laws to Parliament. If they're not giving the people what they want, I will be at Parliament, I'll be outside of Parliament. They'll have to kill me in the yard along up there because that's where I decide to go. They'll have to kill me there. So they better start cleaning the nozzle of their guns and start storing gun bullets. Because when they're taking that document to Parliament, if it doesn't have what the people want, they will have to kill me at government yard. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And I know there are many more like you who are very adamant. I think that we're not going to allow these guys to go up there and do what they want in Parliament for them to remain in power forever. So you're not the only one thinking that way. That's why I said earlier on, it's not going to be smooth sailing. It's going to be a fight, you know. It's going to be a fight because, I mean, you have thousands of persons, for example, who wants national voters ID card. And then you have people on the other side talking about national ID card. And they know fully well that what you need to vote is a voter's ID card because it is specific to voting. With your polling station, your constituency, your registered number, your date of birth, your photograph, your signature, all of that, okay, relates to voting. Now, national ID card is broad. It's very broad. And anybody can have a national ID card. Anybody. A child, a 10-year-old child, a 5-year-old child can have one. And it's much easier to give someone a national ID card and have them to vote as opposed to a voter's ID card. For example, if you have a guy named James Brown, that guy is dead. Let's say from Wesley. But there's a James Brown in Maho, you could give him a national ID card and you could go and vote at Wesley because there is no specifics on it to say who that James Brown is. But that cannot happen if you have a voter's ID card because it will have James Brown, but it will also have the constituency, Wesley constituency. So the guy from Maho cannot go up there and vote because it would be showing Wesley constituency. His would have, it's through the same name, but this would have a Maho constituency. So how can you go to Wesley to vote with a voter's ID card that is saying Maho constituency? So they know that it will be very difficult for one person to vote twice or three times. Not difficult, it will be impossible to vote twice or three times. And that is why they're trying to opt for the national ID card. So these guys know what they're doing. Don't even call it right on cue.
Yes, good evening, John, and good evening.
Hey, brother Earl Bruno.
Yes, good evening.
What's up,
good night, what's up?
Yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, just quickly.
Sure.
Because I know time is of the essence.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Mills called and he keep pressing on the numbers and the majority. But in 1979, right, it was stone throwing. It was the Cool Wash Brigade.
Right.
But what they must realize is you in a different dispensation. In other words, you are in a more modernized technological world as opposed to 1979.
Right.
So meaning the numbers you would have needed to send stones in 1979, you don't need that number in 2023. Right? So you can get the job done with a smaller number rather than a large number that he keep alluding to, meaning that they have more persons on their side rather than those of us in the opposition. But it's not about an opposition thing, Right about now, it's about a communicacy. And I want him to bear in mind that any move they make in with regards to reform in their party political guru nastiness, that it will be catastrophic. Now, what they really have at the back of their mind is the thieving part, the rigging part, the nastiest part. For instance, you remember, John, they attempted to change the law, right? The existing law, which is treating and bribery, the thieving part, the crookery part, the dirtiest part. They try to now legitimize it. But the people stood up and say, hell no, So they have to realize that right about now, on the ground, I want to warn them, don't think that all you are in the majority, especially now. Don't think that all you will overcome. Don't think all you will succeed. And as a matter of fact, if all you really tempt the people will lead all you into temptation that all you wouldn't even have no hole to run and hide. So you better be careful. On the ground, the intelligence on the ground, I hope all you are aware of it and what the people thinking and where they thinking. Boy, all you better be able yourself. And you hear a caller says that he is prepared to die for his rights and in this country. You have thousands like that. So you better will and come again, my brother. Don't come and think is a handful and all you keep pounding on all you have 7 seats or all you have majority. My brother, will and come again. And let us get it right. I am warning. We must get it right.
Oh, yes.
For it to be right and peaceful and loving in this country. Yes. Anything contrary, or you will just shalvy with that country, left, right, and center. And as to how it will stop, that is the big question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the good contribution. Let me just read a quick WhatsApp message here. Someone is saying, bro, to answer Meals, I suppose referring to the caller. It's nothing to do with majority or minority. It's all about Dominica. Not what's in favor of Labour Party or WLP. It's all about the future of Dominica. And he is giving I think that he met a lady. He said 2 days ago, a lady told me she is in favor of the national ID card. I asked her, what's a national ID card? To my amusement, she told me the card Labour wants. So actually, she had no idea what a national ID card. That's what Labour is asking for. She's Labour right, so that's what she wants, a national ID card. So you understand the level of ignorance? To her, a national ID card is the card that Labour wants. And she's right. That's what Labour wants, is a national ID card. So she have understood the concept of a national ID card, what it can be used for, as opposed to a voter's ID card.
Yeah, well, a quick comment there, John, is that the caller, he refers to the majority, but he must recognize that in a democracy, while majority rules, but the minority shall be heard. And therefore, with regards to the electoral reform and what is anticipated, may be accepted or not accepted, it has to be guided by certain things. And I list here, we would expect the recommendations have to be logical. They should meet the constitutional requirements, whether the existing requirements or what may be proposed and accepted. And they have to be right. The public is looking at whatever recommendations must be just, must be fair, and must seek to have a level playing field for free and fair elections in Dominica. And if the requirements, the recommendations doesn't meet these attributes, then it's going to meet stiff resistance by the patriots. So it has to be logical, John.
Yep.
It has to be constitutional, legal. It has to be right, just, fair, and there has to exist a level playing field. And anything short of that would be a recipe for disaster.
Oh yes, indeed. All right, folks. 6:49. Let's take 1 or 2 calls. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Brother Blanchard, real short.
Yeah, man.
I think Mr. Linton has said it very, 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 very well. And let me give him a shout out wherever he is. And Edison James, Honorable, our former Prime Minister. Brother Blanchard, our court says we cannot go back to another election with this tainted system. So what we have to do as a people, identify those tainted areas, cut them out, and make the process clean, free, and fair. That includes cleaning the voter list. That's number one. You cannot have more people on your list than people are living in the country. That's a big thing. Number two, voters ID card. It will give the people a polling district where they live. It will give them a polling number. People will know where they belong, so they won't be able to vote twice.
That's right.
Number three, government cannot use passport money, Dominican money to bring in voters. That is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yep.
Number four, PBS radio is for everybody. It's not Labour Party radio. I hope Mills listening, because he have got shame. So sometimes you have to go down in that little dirty gutter with them, and when you come out, you'll clean yourself. You understand?
Yeah.
Give the people equal access. You're always worrying about equal access after he sued Q95, but we never sued the BS. So we want all political parties, not UWP or Labour or Freedom. Anybody can independent. Everybody have to get equal access to the state media, private and public. And then the campaign finance issue, there must be a limit. We want to know where you're getting your money from. Roosevelt Skerry cannot use in Dominica money as his war chest against the people. And when they finish, they're saying, oh, we want government to pay us to run election. No, he already have the money paying himself. That's how those people get in the free ticket to come down. Because when they don't get in free ticket, they don't come down. And evidence is the last election. How many of them come down because UWP wasn't running, Skerry alone in Scotiabank, so they didn't have to come. If they were so interested, why didn't they pay the passage and come down and vote? Number four, if you're out of the country more than 5 years, you're supposed to be out of that list. Simple. And then the rest, we will do the rest with the constitution in terms of 2 terms limit and a fixed date for election and so forth. You understand? So Mills have to stop with his parties. That electoral reform is not about giving UWP advantage. That is a myth. It's about an equal playing field, because sometimes we can have electoral reform, and who knows, sometimes the UWP still lose. You understand? So it's not about giving anybody advantage over our next. What we are saying, we want clean, free, fair, honest transparency, so people will respect any government the people them default, the people them choose to represent them. And no foreigner cannot say they buy Dominica passport and come and vote. That's a big no-no. You understand? So when Mills talking is caution, it's not about majority. That's not about Labour and UWP and Freedom and APP. You see, that's why this guy's messing up Dominica head. We want a system for Dominica Mills, not for Labour Party, not for no political party, my brother. If all you have dimples and all you so good, all you have a good record, all you will win. But win clean and fair. And stop stealing Dominica money to finance all your election. We want our money to go to the people. The people money is not all your money. When you finish talking about brown paper bag. Brother Blanchard, good night and have a good conversation, good program, my brother.
Bob Bali, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for your great contribution as customary. All right, thank you very much.
Yes, and I don't know why Mill should insist that it should be government, because the Constitution clearly establishes that the Electoral Commission is an independent commission that should not be influenced by any other group or bodies. So, I mean, it is clear, section 50, section 56, subsection 11, it says in the exercise of its function under this constitution, a commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any other personal authority. So to talk about the government here, the government should not be part of that process. It's the political parties and the civil organizations. and then the Electoral Commission will make its recommendation, and then the government will take it to Parliament. But it mustn't be influenced by government. That this is why, as CCM, we question the appointment of Mr. Daru to have anything to do with elections. And maybe they have recognized that, because while that appointment has been made, you have not heard Mr. Daru's voice in anything to do with the election process.
Nothing at all, you know.
And Mr. Daru, from what I know, is professionally a medical doctor. He has no competence in the business of election processes. So there is no role for Mr. Daru there.
But that's all we have in the cabinet. We have a medical doctor as Minister of Finance.
And this is our problem in Dominica. This doctrine of no law, no constitution. We, the Dominican public, we have disregarded the way that doctrine has put everything in Dominica upside down, and this is where we are, because there seems to be no stop to that doctrine of no law, no constitution. It is inherent in the electoral reform process. It is inherent over time in the appointment of past and recent office of the presidency. So this is just the modus operandi of this government, the doctrine of no law, no constitution, and this needs to be stopped.
Yes, that's a couple calls. It's almost 8 o'clock. All right, one or two more calls, and then we'll get out of here. Good evening, caller. You're right, thank you.
Good evening. Good evening.
To you, sir.
Boots on the ground.
Yes, good evening, Boots on the ground.
Guys, I've been listening to the conversation, and I'm tempted, so I have to call. Criminals in jacket and tie. And I think all of them are properly informed with what is happening in the world, you know. When you violate the Constitution, you could committing a criminal act. Donald Trump was the president of the U.S., and Donald Trump and 19 other persons are charged for violating the Constitution. They were criminals in jacket and tie. And do you know that when the matter come before the court, they all ask, not they all, but some of them ask that the matter should be dealt with at a level because they were working with the government. They were working under directives of government. You know what the judges say? That they have to face the grinds of the court as criminals because the act they committed is criminal. When that man talking about Mr. Mills, talking about the population and majority, the man haven't go back as a law officer to the Constitution and read it as it says. There's a Constitution that says when you're out of Dominica for more than 5 years, that you should go back to the electoral office and reorganize yourself before you come and vote. That's all you're asking people to do. These people that are violating the law of Dominica, coming from their other countries and coming to Dominica to vote against us. Remember, all Mr. Mills would be happy to do is to see these people come back and do the same thing. We want them to know that we learn by examples. And the example is we want to do things better, not worse, because the generation to come, we have to fix it up for them so that they do experience what we're experiencing. He better will and come again. Good night.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for your message, your comments.
All right, folks, we are almost there. It's 7:59. We only have 1 minute to go, so let's take for the second each and let's close up the show. So.
Yeah, well, in closing, I want to thank all our listeners out there, and especially those who have had the opportunity to call into the program. Thank you very much for your interaction. As the president of the CCM, I always have to use this opportunity. We are live to you, but it calls for certain level of resources. So those of you out here who are kind enough and generous enough and would like to contribute to our programming. We continually invite you to do that, to help us to keep this program on air. Very educational, very much needed. We need to always focus with such level of information and education to assist the local consciousness so we can be mobilized towards the resistance and the fight for our liberation. So help us to keep this program forthcoming as much as is possible. As we continue to program to you, we hope to bring to you some programming with some professional people. And I think next week, it's not too early that we should inform you that we'll be having Mr. Ronald Lando with us next week in our next weekend program, next Friday's program, who will be looking at aspects of the Dominican economy. So these are programs that we plan to bring to you. And we are also contemplating some final discussions before we can introduce to you some focus on the health services, because the health services has been in the news over the recent times. We have had some critical health issues, and we need to look at the whole health services, health facilities, the whole human resource management as regards to our healthcare system. So we hope we can bring you on that very soon with professional people. So let me thank you once again, and let's hope next week we can have another very productive and interactive program.
All right, thank you very much. Washburn Coffee, president of CCM. And let me thank all you listeners out there, those of you who called, those of you who could not call. And of course, we know the majority of you guys out there are always listening quietly, and you will probably call. But we know you are out there listening to us. It's a good program to my mind, and what we do every Friday is to come out here and give you the information so you can make a determination as to the way forward. Like we always say, we are not those who come here and give mépris and call names and criticize people. That is not CCM's motive at all. And I don't think any of the other programs on Q95 does that. It's always knowledgeable, a lot of information to feed your soul, and you can decide for yourself what way you go. All right, so thanks again for your time, and we do hope that you have a pleasant weekend. I believe the weekend is going to be nice, and there's no impending storm or hurricane coming our way. Thank God for that. Lee's moving very far away from us, so nothing to fear except to get some heavy showers early next week. I believe Monday, Tuesday, we should be getting some heavy showers and so on, some swells, but that's about it. All right. So thank God that we are free from any hurricane or storm at this time, at least for this week and into next week. All right. So please have a nice weekend. God bless you and take care of yourselves. Good night.
This neighbor of mine tell me all the time that I would do fine in Parliament. She recommend me for integrity, too much corruption in government. I tell her no, that's not for me. Ah, mama, I was raised with honesty. Oh, darling, I believe a clear conscience better than dollars and cents. I could not participate in a disorganized state where the directorates And the legal system are enemies of the state. It's the latest trend in the country. Oh, oh, and it baffling everybody. Those who high in society, they are the ones bringing down the country. Everything is upside down. Everything is back to front. And if I didn't know better, I would swear it's voodoo working in Dominica.